My name is Christian Rodriguez, and this is the Political Compass, where we will recap important headlines coming out of Washington, D.C., Tallahassee, and the global stage in order to spread civic literacy amongst Belen students. Let's begin the news with the Republican presidential debate that occurred on Wednesday. The forum was hosted on CNN between presidential hopefuls Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former United Nations Ambassador Nikki Haley in Des Moines, Iowa, just 5 days before the state's critical First in the Nation caucus contest. The debate began with both candidates mudslinging insults and jabs at each other. This resulted in Ambassador Haley calling DeSantis a liar 16 times and referencing her campaign's website page, DeSantisLies.com. One instance of the two candidates criticizing each other was over the topic of aid to Ukraine. This is that moment.
Under her administration, you would have seniors getting less cost of living adjustments while your tax dollars are going to pay the pensions of Ukrainian bureaucrats.
That's not true.
You talk about putting Americans last.
Ron.
That is wrong. You've supported all that money going over there. So let's put our own people first. We have to put
Governor Haley, let him speak.
They also sparred over school choice and leadership in this part.
She says she's always supported school choice, and she failed to deliver. She blames other people. Leadership is about getting things done. Stop making excuses. Make it happen.
If leadership's about getting things done, how did you blow through $150 million in your campaign and you were down in the polls?
So here's
I
not
a manager.
Now
I'm going to say.
I think it's very instructive about how Nikki Haley sees the world.
I think I have the floor.
Political advertisements as like that's as important as the kids and their education. What is more important here? She's saying somehow that that's not as important.
It's Governor Haley's time. Go ahead.
I think I hit a nerve.
And finally, the candidates stepped up their criticism of the former president, including this moment from Ambassador Haley.
But that election, Trump lost it. Biden won that election. And the idea that he's gone and carried this out forever to the point that he's going to continue to say these things to scare the American people are wrong. We've seen a lot of states come together and do more election integrity bills. We need to do more than that. We still have 3 or 4 states that I'm worried about that don't have that. But at the end of the day, I will always defend and fight for the Constitution. That's what we should do as Americans. I think what happened on January 6th was a terrible day, and I think President Trump will have to answer for it. The fact that he wanted to change what the states did, the fact that he wanted to overturn the elections in D.C., those votes happen at the state level. You don't ever allow in D.C. for those votes to be changed at the federal level. Governor. States' rights matter.
Thank you,
Meanwhile, the frontrunner of the race, former President Trump, refused to participate in the debate and instead took questions in a primetime competing town hall in the state on Fox News. Just hours before the debate, former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie announced he was dropping out and suspending his campaign. Governor Christie was staking his bid solely on the New Hampshire primary, which is scheduled for January 23rd. He has been known during the campaign for his constant vehement criticism of former President Donald Trump. In his speech, the former New Jersey governor criticized the, quote, hate and the division and the selfishness of what our party has become under Donald Trump. This move gives hope to supporters of Nikki Haley's campaign, who, according to polls, has been within striking distance of the former president in several polls in the Granite State, especially after the recent endorsement of her candidacy by the state's Republican Governor Chris Sununu. Before the New Hampshire primary, though, the state of Iowa is having their Republican presidential caucuses soon, on Monday, January 15th. Caucuses require voters to gather at their local precinct at the same time to listen to speeches from campaign representatives and fill out secret ballots and watch the votes get tallied. This comes amidst record-breaking cold temperatures in the state, with the state's capital Des Moines' daily high on caucus day being -2 degrees and the low being less than -20 degrees. These are frigid temperatures that could dampen turnout in a contest that requires active voters turnout. Most polls in the state have former President Donald Trump winning the contest by an average of over 30 percentage points. The part of the race that is hyper-competitive is the race for second place, with Florida Governor Ron DeSantis staking virtually his entire campaign on the state and banking on the governor's endorsement in a virtual tie with former UN Ambassador and South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley, who has seen a recent surge in polls throughout the country, even overtaking DeSantis in averages in national GOP polls. Separately, the House of Representatives Oversight Committee had issued a subpoena to force President Biden's son Hunter Biden to appear before them in order to answer their questions about his conduct. Mr. Biden has agreed to testify, but has refused requests for a closed deposition, instead pushing for a public congressional hearing. The chairman of the committee, Republican Congressman Jamie Comer of Kentucky, has refused Mr. Biden's request and instead held a hearing on holding him in contempt of Congress. The hearing erupted when Hunter Biden showed up and sat in the audience along with his lawyers, with Republican members of Congress like Representative Nancy Mace saying, quote, "You are the epitome of white privilege coming into the Oversight Committee, spitting in our face, ignoring a congressional subpoena to be deposed. What are you afraid of?" among other expletives. The hearing ended with the committee voting to advance contempt of Congress charges to the Department of Justice along party lines. On Friday, President Joe Biden kicked off his re-election campaign in 2024 by giving a speech in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania, in advance of the third anniversary of the January 6th insurrection at the United States Capitol. He framed this year's presidential election between himself and former President Trump as a race over whether the nation's democracy will endure, by saying, quote, "The choice is clear. Donald Trump's campaign is about him, not America, not you. Donald Trump's campaign is obsessed with the past, not the future. He's willing to sacrifice our democracy to put himself in power. Our campaign is different." And said that in relation to the former president's claim of a rigged election in 2020, quote, "The legal path just took Trump back to the truth, that I had won the election and he was a loser." And with that, that's it for this week's Political Compass segment. Until next time, when we run down headlines coming out of Washington, D.C., Tallahassee, and the world stage for you.